Matthew Stafford has always been a bit erratic in his play from game to game and year to year, but this is probably his most changed season from last year to this year, as last season he was a top 5 quarterback, and this year he might be the 20th best quarterback in the league, so that's a massive difference. And there's a lot around him that has led to this change, so it's definitely not all on Stafford, but a fair amount of it also is at the same time. So as far as Stafford's play is concerned, you can see he has a range of very good to very poor in his stats that's quite jarring. Being ranked 11th in success rate is no small feat, because that really shows that, at least according to this metric, on a play-by-play basis, he is effective. And that's really impressive, because to get out in front of it, he's had a very poor offensive line, and his receivers have been hurt for a good chunk of the year. So it does make sense that his play has dropped off a fair bit. But either way, his PFF grade is a bit alarming, because it's supposed to take into account the fact that his supporting cast isn't the greatest, because it grades each player on how they are performing based on how they should be performing. So with that said, if he doesn't have a receiver open and he finds a way to drop it in for a catchable pass, that's really impressive, and that'll be noted on his PFF grade. With that said, he's still being docked points for having turnover-worthy plays and not always finding the open man when there is one. So he's showing that he can do a very wide range of success, in that he can be very efficient on a per play basis, and also really struggle to compound his good plays with more good plays. As I mentioned before, he has a very poor offensive line. They rank 25th in pass blocking when combining PFF's team grade for pass protection with ESPN's pass blocking win rate. So they are really rough as a pass blocking unit, which again, not all poor team construction. There have been injuries that have held the team back. Speaking of things holding the team back with injuries, we have Cooper Kupp, who's been hurt for a sizable chunk of the year. When healthy, though, he is fantastic. He is 7th in yards per game and 94th in yards per reception, which describes him pretty well, I would say. He does have the capacity to get deep, not at a very high level, but at some level, I would say higher than 94th in the entire league. But that 7th in yards per game is what really stands out, as it shows that he is a short to intermediate boss that will continually get open and make plays even when he's not open. Puka Nacua, a similar deal, but a little bit better as a deep downfield target. More than a little bit, a fair amount better. Nacua is 11th in yards per game and 41st in yards per reception. So he is a real do-it-all receiver. He is more than capable of getting deep downfield, but like Kupp, he's at his best in the intermediate parts of the field. Kupp, I didn't mention, is a true slot, meaning he's going to spend most of his time in between another wide receiver and the next receiving option. So Cup is true to his skill set and being short to intermediate. What I love about Nacua and Cup is this is a very underrated fact about them. I've heard it from some commentators, but I don't think enough really do describe this. They are both incredible run blockers. And that is needed with Sean McVay, who entrusts his receivers with all sorts of blocks. There'll be times where they're blocking a defensive end, or chipping a defensive end at the very least. There'll be times where they take on a linebacker downfield. They do it all, and they do it very, very well. They are so super physical. And they're physical as receivers also. Running the ball, they are physical. They just embody physicality, and that's really nice to see. With some receivers not liking to put their body on the line like that, these guys absolutely love to. Tutu Atwell, their wide receiver 3, if you can call him that, he's wide receiver 3/4, I would say. Atwell is 77th in yards per game and 26th in yards per reception, so he can get deep downfield very nicely. Demarcus Robinson, same deal, 83rd in yards per game, 14th in yards per reception. He wins deep downfield the best out of any of their players, but Atwell is not far behind. At tight end, they have an issue with Tyler Higbee not being healthy because Davis Allen is PFF's worst receiving graded tight end in all of football. That is pretty alarming because they always have a tight end option for their plays. So they're basically just kind of burning a roster spot on him at times. I guess that's not actually entirely true because Allen is a good run blocker, but still, he could contribute in much greater ways than he currently does. Moving to their running game, they are a bit all over the place. They are 19th in rushing expected points added and 7th in rushing success rate, which if you don't know what these stats are, I have a video that breaks them down in each respective way. Both fantastic stats that are very good, do it all, that can help define how well a quarterback is playing, how well an offense or defense is playing, you name it. They are not getting long plays, as evidenced by being 19th in expected points added, but on a per-play basis, they are having some success, as they are a top 10 team in success rate. Defensively, they are below average, but not as much as you might think. They're 19th in defensive expected points added and 22nd in defensive success rate. So they're poor in both regards, but not awful. They are, I would say, right on the cusp of being an acceptable defense, to where, yes, you would obviously like for your defense to be much better than what they currently are, but you can get by with a defense of that caliber if the offense is strong enough. I would say that they have 5 above average defensive starters. They have Darius Williams, who is great at covering. He's a small defensive back, about 5'9", I would say. But he covers much nicer than you might expect for someone at that height. Jared Verse, an absolute rookie phenom. I think far and away the defensive rookie of the year. Verse is a balanced beast, which we could have expected because coming out of Florida State, he was just yoked up, and that has shown itself to be the case for the NFL as well. Super physical, great against the run, can get after the passer, very good player. Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle, he's really strong against the run, not so good as a pass rusher. Kobe Turner, kind of a similar deal. He's better in both regards than Brown, I would say. Most notably being much better as a pass rusher, but very good run defender as well. Then they have Braden Fisk, their third interior player. He's good as a pressure getter, so they balance each other out nicely. They have two guys that specialize in defending the run, and one guy that specializes in getting after the passer. So that's good stuff. They have two poor defenders, I would say. Byron Young is someone that struggles to defend the run, and Christian Roseboom is similarly poor against the run also. They have those clear deficiencies with an edge player in Young and a linebacker in Roseboom, but aside from that, they're not too bad. They have those star players I mentioned before, and then they have some capable players all around them, so it's not a awful unit by any stretch. Those are my thoughts on the Rams. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content.